All right, welcome everybody. Mailbag show, Q&A show, whatever we want to call it. Haven't done one of these for a while. I thought preseason has started, sort of. It's been a slow start. We've got a couple of games starting in about half an hour, I want to say. So a little bit of action, some news, some injuries, things happening. And draft season ramping up pretty quickly, which is good. My favourite time of the year. So I thought I'd take some questions if there are any. If there aren't any questions, then it'll be a very quick show. I did get a question on Twitter from Steve St. Pierre, which I didn't pop it into sort of the live thing so people could see it. But his question was hypothetically, if I was asked to co-host an episode of Menace Podman, would I accept the offer? Assuming we can find a time that works, Stephen, yes, I would. You know I would. I'm pretty sure you knew what my answer would be to that question. So, yes, I will. Welcome to Stuff It. I'll just get all of that out of the way. Brought to you by FanDuel and Fantrax. Go over onto YouTube. I mean, a lot of people are probably watching on Twitter. It's a lot easier, to be honest. But if you're watching on YouTube, that is where you can pop the comments that I can see. I don't actually know if the Twitter comments come up in StreamYard on the back end, but I know I can check it on Twitter. I don't know. It's sort of weird anyway. Anyway, we'll just keep going the way we're going. We do have questions coming in. Very good, very good. So yes, FanDuel, Fantrax, YouTube, subscribe, like this video, like all the videos, and do go and download the audio versions as well. You don't have to listen to them, just download them. It all counts. We're sort of trying to get in a position. Well, I mean, Dan obviously earns money and does stuff with his show. I'm trying to earn a little bit. It makes it easier to justify it to my family when when I can contribute a little bit of money to the living expenses. All right, we do have some questions, so let's bring them up. Breakout players for this season. I've done some sleeper videos. I've done sort of favorite last round picks. I think I've done punt targets. Yeah, look, I mean, probably my favorite sort of breakout player is Asar Thompson. I've talked about him quite a lot this season. I like Mattis Buzelis as well. I guess it probably it depends on what you classify as a breakout, I suppose. Is this a player that has never really had a role and is going to step into a larger role and sort of come out of nowhere? Or a player who has been a top 60 player and now they're going to be a top 20 player. Everyone has a different opinion on what's a breakout, what's a sleeper. But like I said, Asar, I think Mattis Buzelis is a nice one as well. Reed Shepherd, with the injury to Fred VanVleet, is another one for me. Mitchell Robinson. Now, obviously, he's not a breakout player, but I do think he's a very good target late. So there's some names. And of course, it comes down to what you're punting. If you're punting, what the format is this Dynasty, or all those questions. And a question, I guess, linking into that one, sleeper picks above 150. So I know I did pop something up on Twitter yesterday, and I'm just going to pull that up because where did I put it? All right, here we go. So I listed 10 players, 11, maybe 11 players yesterday, no, maybe 2 days ago, my favorite players with an ADP outside the top 120. So a couple obviously don't fit this question, but I have got 8 names outside the top 150, and I'll just read through them in order. Isaiah Jackson at 150 exactly. Reed Shepherd, 153. Mitchell Robinson, 172. Taylor Hendricks, 173. Sam Hauser, 174. Adem Bona, 177. Ryan Kalkbrenner, 208. And Bryce Sensabaugh at 217. So there's a few names that I like. And there are more. There's actually a little bit of value at the back end of drafts this season, I think. So that's always exciting. Matt Carmody watching along, of course, very good. How high do I think Asar's ADP will rise before the start of the season? Ooh, what's he at? Let's have a look. Okay, Asar Thompson. So currently his ADP is sitting at 83 on Fantrax, 92 on Yahoo. Yahoo, I think it definitely comes in. I think he probably settles in the. It certainly won't push to top 50, top 60, maybe top 70, probably top 80. So it probably comes in another maybe half a round to a round. It does take a lot for an ADP to shift significantly. So it would take a lot of people drafting him in the 50s to drag it up significantly. So I don't think that'll happen. He will go in the top 60, top 50 range in some spots if someone is punting like me. So I do think it comes up, but it probably still hovers in the mid 70s, maybe 70, which I think is fine. Getting him in the 80s or 90s is obviously a lot better, but and that's why you draft now or in the next week. If you're drafting on that final weekend before the start of the season, which I think is something like the 18th of October, that's when his ADP will be sort of reaching its limit, I guess. Oh no, hang on. Let's wait. Hopefully, we do get through all the questions. We've got a few, but yeah, I think we can. I'm in no huge rush. Rugby League Grand Final is on today, so I am heading out. Got to go and grab some lunch and go to a friend's house. But that's not for a little bit. How would I build a Wemby draft? Haven't seen any online, but would be very similar to my heavy punt AD build. Very good question. Very front of mind for me at the moment, actually. I'm in a league with some old man squad people. I actually got the second pick in that league and took Wemby, and it's coming back around to me now. And I'm not going to say I'm stumped, but he's a tough one. He is a tough one. So someone like Anthony Davis, I know what I'm punting from the minute I draft him. Wemby, Jokic, Shea, Luka, they're a little bit harder. Wemby and Jokic, very hard. So probably for Wemby, where I'm leaning, and it will depend on who's available to me. So I will take who I think is best available player at the with my second pick, and that will determine, I think, what direction I go in. My options are probably, obviously, you can't punt blocks, you can't punt rebounds. They're probably the two really obvious ones. So they're your big man stats. So if you're not punting blocks and rebounds by way of sort of targeting those, you're probably going to get decent field goal percentage, which is sort of it's not counterproductive. But Wemby, his field goal percentage isn't a strength if you compare him to other centers in the league. He's under 50% because he shoots a lot of threes. But he's only at 40. I think he'll be like 49. So he's certainly not terrible. So you're probably just going to get field goal percentage because you're going to be targeting guys in the middle. I've always said if you're getting Wemby, make sure you don't just ignore blocks. Yes, he will almost win the category by himself, but he won't. If there's a team that has Anthony Davis, and I can use a team that I'm fully aware of, because if I get Anthony Davis, I don't punt blocks and I draft Walker Kessler, Jakob Poeltl, Mitchell Robinson. So just be aware if someone is building a team like that, you can't just rest on Wemby and not worry. So you do need to target a couple of shot blockers later, especially if Wemby goes down, because that removes a huge chunk of your blocks. So you probably want to lean into those big man stats. The turnovers is the other one. He's quite a high turnover player for a center. But again, you're going to be okay. The question is then, he's probably going to hit 3 threes a game. So do you target shot blocking centers that hit threes like a Miles Turner with maybe your third pick? Depending on whether it's a snake draft that's coming back to you, you're probably at like 23 and 26. Do you take Miles Turner at pick 26 and then really lean in? And he's not a super high rebounder, but he's okay. Again, percentages, not your typical center. So do you get him and then do you grab someone? I don't know. I mean, you could even consider a Brook Lopez with your last pick. Jay Huff, maybe. Do you look at Jaren Jackson somewhere in there as well? If you're going to do that, then you probably can steer away from field goal percentage because all of those players are going to be serviceable but not great. And then what do you do with your steals and your assists and your points, which are guard stats? Assists would be the obvious one, I suppose. It's probably Wemby's weakest category if we're looking across the board. But he's not terrible. He could get 4 assists a game, which for a center is pretty good. Points are going to be pretty good as well. He's not an elite scorer yet, I don't think. He's not up there with Shea and I think back to sort of prime James Harden. So he's not going to be at 30 points a game, but he could be at 25, 26. So you probably don't want to punt that. But again, punting points is a very good option this season. And that's sort of where my head is going with this Wemby build that I'm doing. I probably will almost do a soft punt on points. I've got some names lined up for who I want to target with my next pick, but yeah, it depends who's available. I just like punting points because I think it's a category that people chase a little bit later. And if you're not worried about points, it bumps players up. So players that don't score later in drafts are sometimes overlooked or just pushed down draft boards because people are chasing your Cam Thomas and your Colin Sexton and those guys that are going to get 16, 18, 20 points. So punting points is sort of where I'm going, and then I'll just take next player available. So it was a really long answer, but yeah, you ask a punt question. Please rank Giddey, Murray, and White. So Josh Giddey, Jamal Murray, and Kobe White, I'm assuming that would be. It wouldn't be DeJounte, I wouldn't think. Let me know if I'm wrong, if they're not the players you're talking about. Rank those guys. I think it would be that order that you have it. Giddey, Murray, White. I think Giddey's probably top 30, Murray top 40, White top 60. Something like that. Thank you, Victor. Appreciate that. I did get so I had some comments in my last show. Maybe it was my sleepers show about graphics on the screen. Now, obviously, with a mailbag show, I can't have pre-made graphics, but hopefully, moving forward, I will have some pre-made graphics. So I will have players up on the screen. It's just really a weak point for me. I'm not across that sort of stuff at all. My daughter is hopefully moving into graphic design, and she'll be able to help me with that. But in the meantime, Matty G, who is in Melbourne at the moment watching the Pelicans games. I just got off the phone with him. He's going to do up some graphics for me that I can edit. That'd have to be pretty simple because I'm simple. But yeah, just a side note, I suppose, there that I will have some graphics up for the upcoming shows. All right, please rank these. So these are some back-end centers. I'm assuming we're talking Isaiah Jackson, Nemesh Cater, Jay Huff, Mitchell Robinson, and Adem Bona. Please rank these guys. Oh, that's a tough one. I'm not that high on Jay Huff. That's me personally. I know some people are. Look, I mean, I guess you get down into this range. Are you looking at players that have the clearest path to minutes? It's probably Nemesh Cater. We just don't know what Boston... In a week, I'll be able to answer this question with a bit more certainty, I think, because we will have had a look at the Pacers and the Celtics. Adem Bona looks like he's going to start until Joel Embiid is back, but he hasn't looked great, and Drummond has looked okay. I I think Mitchell Robinson is probably the safest, just because I think it's clear that he's going to play 22 to 24 minutes. He may start, and we know what he can do because we've seen him. We've seen him in this role before, 24 minutes off the bench, and he can get you 2 blocks, 10 rebounds, 8 points on 80% shooting kind of thing. The rest have question marks. I prefer Isaiah Jackson over Jay Huff, but that's me personally. He's coming off an Achilles injury, so that may limit him a little bit. And Nemesh Cater, like I talked about, where does Luka Garza fit in there? They have Chris Boucher as well. So, yeah, but I think they're all worth drafting. I think all 5 of these players should be drafted after about pick 100, 120. And it's really roll the dice. But if you can hold off for a week, we may have a more of an indication. Edie or Castle for a Dynasty League? Ooh. They're very different. I mean, if you're looking at pure value, because if you're looking at stats, they're completely the opposite player. But if you're looking at just overall value, I don't know. I'm not that high on Edie personally. I just think he looks a little bit slow, limited. I guess he and Donovan Clingan are quite similar in terms of what they do. But Edie just his mobility looks like it might be an issue. I think I'd probably go Edie though here, just in terms of overall value. Castle, I think he was good last year, but I think this year he's going to struggle a little bit with the added depth. So I think I'd go Edie in that one. What's my ideal fantasy situation? First pick and players to get if you want to win. Just my preference. I don't like the first pick. I've actually been drafting from sort of pick 7, pick 8 in a lot of leagues this season, and I don't mind that spot. I actually don't mind picking on the turn this year, like 11, 12, because there's still a lot of players in that range that could be first rounders. I don't like pick 5, pick 6. 4, I guess you sort of just take whoever's left of that top 4. 9 and 10, you're sort of in between the 2 that I like. So I like the 7 sort of range, and then 11 or 12. That's where I like to pick from this season. Do I think 3rd round reversal should be used in most drafts? Absolutely, I do. Yeah, I'm using it in all of my mocks, I think, or maybe not all of my mocks, but all of my real leagues that aren't auction drafts. I mean, that would be, I'd sort of preface that question by saying do an auction draft if you can, because I think it is by far the fairest way of drafting. But if you are doing a snake draft, and I get it, snake drafts you can do as a slow draft, or you do them quite quickly and knock them out in about 45 minutes to an hour. Auctions can take 2, 3, 4 hours, so it is a bit of a time commitment. But if you're doing a snake draft, if you're in I would say if you're in a 10-team league, I probably still would, but I don't think you have to. 12-team leagues, probably yes. Any deeper, 14, 16, 20, yes, I would be absolutely using 3rd round reversal. Hendricks or Kyle Filipowski or Ace Bailey? Oh, Utah question. I like Hendricks personally. I just think he can do a little bit of everything. But it remains to be seen how they're going to use all 3 of these players. I assume Bailey starts, so I guess if you're looking at opportunity, it's probably Bailey, just because they almost have to play in big minutes, where I think Kyle Filipowski and Hendricks could play big minutes down the stretch. But for the first month to 2 months, they could play 28 minutes, they could play 21 minutes, and that could change from night to night as well. So I'd probably go Bailey just because I think he has the clearest path to minutes. All right, question from Alex here. Now I just want to quickly check. because I can see all these questions coming up on. Yeah, okay. So it doesn't look like no. Okay. All right. What was the question? Are analysts overlooking Hanson's presence in Portland? Klingon seems to be a consensus breakout candidate, but Yang looks like he might. Go the Broncos hunt to win the Clive. I don't like the Broncos. Sorry for any Americans that are watching. As I said, it is a big day here if you follow rugby league in Australia. I don't like either team. I go for the Tigers, so I'm used to not caring when it comes to the finals. I'm really torn today because I just don't want Melbourne to win. They always win, so that annoys me. Broncos haven't won in 19 years, I don't think. But Reece Walsh, he irks me a little bit. Ezra Mam. But on the flip side, I like Ben Hunt. I like Patrick Carrigan. I like Michael Maguire as a coach. I like Payne Haas. So it's probably Brisbane, but I don't know. Some players in the NBA are the same. They just, for whatever reason, I just can't bring myself to like them. And Reece Walsh is one of those, and Ezra Mam as well. But yeah, look, sure, let's go Bronx. Young Hansen. Yeah, look, I think maybe a little bit. The situation in Portland, obviously Aiton's gone now, but Robert Williams is still there. So Klingon is someone that he's sort of growing on me a bit, but probably for the fact that I think Portland are actually going to try and win. If that's the case, I think they go with Klingon as sort of their starter primary centre. If we reach a point where they've had some injuries and things aren't looking as positive, then they may go to more of a minute split. So I think Klingon can be a breakout, but like I said, with he and Edie, both of them, they're just not really, in my mind, built for today's NBA, which is a shame. I miss the more traditional centers, which those two certainly are. Young Hansen adds a little bit, though. He can shoot threes. He can pass the ball. So, yeah, look, I think people are overlooking him a little bit, but not to the point where I wouldn't be drafting Klingon or anything like that. What are my thoughts on Zion this year? I mean, every year we come to this point where we're looking at videos and photos and stuff of him, and he's skinny. And look, the fact that it does look like he's lost a bit of weight, that can only be a good thing. He's had multiple hamstring issues, so carrying less weight around is going to be good. I think for him, it should make him more explosive, which is a good thing. Where am I? I think. Look, rank-wise, I'd probably say that he's one of those tough ones to sort of put a number on, because his value sort of doesn't reflect what he can do for your fantasy team. So I think if we look at overall value, maybe top 50. But his ADP is sort of in line with that, and that's obviously due to the injury risk. But look, based on what I've seen, I think this is a contract year. So, yeah, I would say if you want to take a risk on him in the 4th round, fine. 5th round is where I'd like to get him. What pick are safe for these players? Oh, okay. So where do we want to be picking these players? Kyrie, I'm not. Maybe the last round. DeJounte and Herro. So I'd go Herro, then DeJounte, then Kyrie in terms of, I guess, opportunities this season. So Tyler Herro is potentially going to miss. I think it was like 4 to 8 weeks, or I don't even know if we've got a firm timeline. Yeah, look, maybe he comes back Christmas-ish. So 2 months, 6 to 8 weeks, you're looking at like 25 games, maybe 30 games. DeJounte, I think he's probably closer to January, looking at half a season, and has obviously been out for a long time. So look, I wouldn't be drafting DeJounte as an active roster spot. So if you've got 10 active roster spots, I would draft your 10 players before I consider DeJounte. Take him in that 100 range, 110, 120, and then move him to your IR spot. Kyrie, deeper leagues, you could take him late. But like I said, I don't think he's really going to play this year or not play a significant portion of the fantasy season anyway. Who would I take at 2 overall in an ESPN points league? Initially thought Jokic, Wemby if they drop, but usage drop, injury concerns. Yes, they do. So you can go for... Yeah, look, there's certainly options in a points league. Now, I think I actually had the... Let me just have a look. Fantrax. I'm in a points mock at the moment. And I had the second pick, and I took Wemby. And then Giannis, and then Shea, and then Lucas. So they're the 5. Again, in a points league, category league, it's pretty much the same. Yeah, look, it probably just depends where your mind is at in terms of injuries and that sort of thing. Jokic, I think Jokic is probably going to be the number 1 in both points and category leagues. In a points league, I think you can make a case for Giannis going number 2. Yeah, I took Wemby. I just like Wemby. Yeah, Luka. I mean, he looks good in Eurobasket and certainly looks fit. So I don't think you can really go wrong in a points league. You're right, Matt. I'm not a big fan of Tyler Herro, but I was actually reasonably high on him this season because of the opportunity. I thought he was going to handle the ball a lot more. Where do I think he should be drafted with the injury? Like I said, I think he's probably going to miss. Probably 20 games, 25 games, something like that. I think when he's healthy this season, he's probably going to be a top 30 player. It's not like a third rounder. So where would I take him? I mean, as late as possible. His ADP at the moment is in the 60s. That's probably going to be on the way down. So not unlike Asar, he'll be going the other way. So what does that put? That puts him in the 6th round. I wouldn't go that high personally on him. I mean, 20 games, 25 games, that's a quarter of the season. It's a significant amount. And it maybe comes down to as well what your playoff or your league schedule is like. So a lot of my leagues this year are ending quite early, as early as prior to the All-Star break. So I'm actually going to have a couple of my leagues done by the All-Star break this year, just because what I saw last year doesn't fill me with excitement when it comes to fantasy basketball. So I'll be ending my leagues, the All-Star break, and then shifting into a pick'em league for the rest of the season. So where you just pick players based on who's available every day. But if your league is going right to the end of the season, then obviously you're going to get 50 games of Tyler Herro maybe. In my leagues, you're maybe going to get 20. So if you're in a standard kind of a league where it ends end of March, I'd be okay in the 70s if you could get him there. I think that's probably as high as I would go. Who's my favorite first round guard in an 8-cat, except for Shea or Luka? It's probably Trae Young, I think. Just trying to think of other guards who are in that range. Yeah, it's probably Trae, purely for the fact that I think he could lead the league in assists quite comfortably. With better players around him, obviously the scoring may come down a little bit, but he could be at 12 assists a game or something like that. And knowing how hard it is to get assists later in drafts, if I'm at pick sort of 8 or 9 and I'm not going with my Anthony Davis build, I think I'd go with Trae Young as my favorite there. What have we got? Oh, yes, it was. They were the right players. Is Moses Moody a top 150 player? I'll say no. At the moment, I think he could be if he was given a large enough role, but I just don't think he's going to play more than about 20 minutes a night. So I'll say at this stage, probably not. What's that like? Oh, this isn't really a question, but a comment. Graphics would be epic. Screen share of a player profile. That's what it'll be basically. It'll pretty much be a fancier sort of tailored version of, hey, here's this player. Here are their projected stats or their stats so far this season, depending on where we are. So yes, it won't be anything too fancy, but it will just have on the screen what I'm talking about. I saw the comments that people popped up there about the graphics, and I certainly understand. I'm exactly the same. If I'm watching along someone's show, listening along to anyone, and I'm fast forwarding, you will hear them talking, going, well, who are you talking about? You sort of have to read the tea leaves a bit, and what team are they talking about, and you take a guess. But for the video versions, yes, I certainly agree that having some graphics will be better. I think I'd punt assists with Wemby to answer the earlier question. Yeah, look, and that's, like I said, that's probably the obvious one because it's his weakest category. And I'm thinking of points. They're probably the two directions I'm going to go. Am I watching? Yes, I am watching NRL Grand Final. Talked about it briefly. I don't really care who wins. We do a full day thing, so we'll be watching the I don't even know, the State Cup or whatever it's called, with the Queensland winners and the New South Wales winners, the Women's League as well, and then the main game, the NRL. So yeah, I don't really mind. I wouldn't mind seeing Adam Reynolds win, Michael Maguire. So it's probably Brisbane, like I said, as much as I don't really like a couple of their players. Any guards outside the top 200 in a 20-team league? Ooh, it's going deep. All right. If we're basing that on ADP, which is sort of, I guess, where we are. Depends on your platform, obviously. ADPs are very different, but let's do fan tracks. We don't sort of dig into that range too much, so I can't just say, oh yeah, I know this guy's ADP is this. But I can certainly search. And the fan tracks, oh, what's going on there? That didn't work. Oh yeah, it did. Oh yeah, there we go. Okay, guards down in that range. Let's have a look. Who have we got? Very, very stat dependent at this point in the draft. Buddy Hield is down there, Jordan Clarkson. So if you're just wanting points and threes, there's a couple of low-end guys, Duncan Robinson, Grady Dick. Who else is there? Yeah, that's sort of it. I mean, Walter Clayton is someone that intrigues me. So his ADP at the moment is 258. I think at some point he will play a pretty good, a nice role for this Utah team. I'm not saying you draft him in standard leagues, but last pick of a deeper league, maybe. Because if he comes out and they just sort of go, hey, he played 26 minutes, I think he could have some value. I don't mind Max Christie, but I actually just don't think he's going to play enough. I thought he was fine last year, but he wasn't great. Chris Dunn, if you need steals. Kevin Herter for Chicago is an interesting one. So he's not being drafted anywhere, but I think he probably plays 27, 28 minutes for the Bulls this year. And we know he's not great, but he could get you 13, 14 points, 2 to 3 threes, a steal, 2 or 3 assists. And if Giddey gets injured, if Kobe White gets injured, I know they have just Sunmu sitting there as well and Trey Jones. But yeah, I think Herter could play a fairly consistent role. Marcus Smart is in that range if you want steals. Who else is down in there? If you're looking close to 200s, Trey Johnson for the Wizards, I think plays a pretty big role. He'll be field goal percentage is going to be an issue, but he'll be out there. Lonzo, his ADP is 188 on Fantrax, and he's going to start for Cleveland. So yeah, look, there are a few names there. I think, nothing too exciting, obviously. Chad watching along. Is the Mitchell Robinson helium just wishful thinking? I hope it's not just wishful thinking. Look, he started both preseason games, but Josh Hart has been out. So unfortunately, we haven't seen a true reflection of does he start when everyone is healthy. I think the fact that they've got a new coach helps him. I think Tibbs was obviously, he leans into the playing time a lot for his starters. That won't be the case this year. I mean, the starters will still play big minutes, but not 37, not 38. They'll be low to mid-30s, I think, like 33. So I think even if Robinson's coming off the bench, they want to play him alongside Cat a little bit more. They need a defensive rim protector. Cat is not that player. So I think there's a lot of positives here for Mitchell Robinson. And like I said at the top, he only needs 22 to 24 minutes, I think, to be a relevant kind of a player. Okay. Tian. New to fantasy in a 16-team Roto league. First pick, thinking of Miles Turner at 32. Since I might not get a shot blocking center by 64. But yeah, Turner at 32 is fine. Absolutely fine. I'm pretty high on Turner this year. I'm assuming that means you're not taking Wemby. Or maybe you are. Maybe you are and you're just getting the blocks early. But I think Turner could be like a top 30 player this season. So I've got no issues at all taking Turner at pick 32. Who should I pair for Wemby? Second pick, 14 team. So what are you coming back at there? 27. Pairing with Wemby at 27. Let's have a look. I'll just go to ADP so I can see who's sitting there typically in that range. Who would I look at? If you have a punt strategy, that will determine. Do you go Şengün could be there. He's an interesting pairing. If you want to, Josh Giddey, I don't mind pairing him with Wemby. If Giddey is sitting there, his ADP is right at 27. If you need to get points, I suppose, you probably don't want someone like an Amen Thompson, even though he does do a lot of other things like Wemby does. It might just hurt your points a little bit, although it's a Roto league, so I suppose. I would say Giddey. I'd look at Şengün if he's available, but he probably won't be. Who else do I like? LaMelo. If we knew LaMelo was healthy, I'd consider him. And Amen Thompson, Jalen Williams, those sorts of guys. So yeah, players that sort of just chip in across the board. And Jalen Williams is another good example of that kind of a player. Jason Wu, seeing Amen at 19, is that accurate or too high? I think it's fine, personally. Trying to think where I've taken him at 12. I wouldn't recommend taking him at 12. I'm taking him anyone that watches my stuff, they know that I take him with Anthony Davis in almost every build I can. And usually I'm getting AD at pick 7 or 8, which would mean that I'm taking Amen at 16, 17. So I think top 20 is sort of in the range, yes. All right. Still got a few questions. So we might just fly through some of these because we're sitting at 40 minutes, but that's all right. I'm not in a huge rush. Which one of Donovan Mitchell or Evan Mobley would be better this year? I'm higher on Mobley. Obviously, with Garland out, Donovan Mitchell probably starts the year better, potentially. But I think Mobley has more upside. I think we know who Mitchell is. We've seen the best from Donovan Mitchell. When Garland comes back in, he's going to take away from him. They also have, I feel like they added someone. I can't even think who it is. But anyway, I just think Mobley has more upside, so I'd lean Mobley there slightly. Who should I take at pick 6 in a 9-cat league, Cade or Ant? I like Cade. Ant's one of those players I can't get behind. He just, for whatever reason, I just can't. Not nothing to do with production, but I would go Cade at 6. If I was given that choice, that's who I would go with. While Garland and Strus are out, who has the higher offensive ceiling, Merrill or Hunter? It's probably Hunter, I think. Yeah, I'll go Hunter there. I think, yeah. Jokic as first pick. Yep, that's the right choice. Jamal Murray and Derek White. Who's the better pick at 32? Thinking mainly for assists. Look, that gives you 2 Denver players with your first 2 picks if you take Jamal Murray. Now, that's not a no-no necessarily, but they can cannibalize each other a little bit, given that they're both playmakers. I would probably go Derek White just in terms of, I guess, upside and across the board kind of stats. But yeah, I mean, Jamal Murray, look, he is a little bit overlooked. But I still think I'd go Derek White. The only concern is just that chance that he misses some games down the stretch. But other than that, I'd go Derek White. Okay. ESPN 10-team points. Which of these target in the second or third round with 19 and 22? Maxey, Harden, Giddey, Şengün, Mobley, Jalen Johnson. In a points league, I would go Maxey and I would go Giddey, I think. Oh. Yeah, it's they're all probably not Mobley in a points league. Potentially not Jalen Johnson either. So, yeah, I think I'd go Maxey and Giddey. I know Harden will have a good year this year, but they are deep. I know they're old, but they're deep. So, yeah, let's go Giddey and Maxey, I think. Better combination in a 9-cat head-to-head league, Maxey and DeRozan or Reeves and Jimmy Butler? Ooh. I'm going to go Maxey and DeRozan, I think. JJ Styles, other than getting top 3 in the draft, which spot do I think? I talked about this earlier. So my favourite spots this year are around pick 7, if I can get pick 7, or 11 and 12. They're my favourite spots. Who to target for pairing with Trey at round 2 in a Roto? Well, if you've taken Trey, I guess just look at what he's not good at, because that is why his rank is not as high as some of these other like Harden and Maxey and these guys, because Trey does have some holes in his game. Let's be honest. Have a look at what now he actually doesn't steal the ball very much for a sort of an elite point guard. So that is one of the weaknesses in his game. So what are you looking at? 17. Looking. You probably want to go like a wing. Maybe a Jalen Williams would be okay if he's there. Amen Thompson again. Trey's pretty good from the free throw line, so you can absorb the Amen Thompson hit there. Doesn't hit a lot of threes, but Trey will get you threes. Jalen Williams, though, I think maybe he's a better fit. Doesn't get blocks, so you'd have to then go and get blocks somewhere else. But Yeah, I don't mind Jalen Williams, Amen Thompson. Both of those guys will get you 5+ assists, so they'll complement Trey in that respect. Jalen Williams obviously has the higher upside in terms of points and threes and free throws, but Amen has the blocks, the steals slightly, field goal percentage. So I like both of those guys there. Do I have any punt builds I would build with Booker? I did draft Booker in a mock, but I can't remember where I took him. Look, I'd go similar to a Trey build with Booker, I think. Again, he's not an elite defensive player, so that would be something you'd have to be aware of. But points, assists are probably going to be at 8.5 this season, assuming he stays as the starting point guard. He'll get you 3 threes, 2.5, 3 threes. He's very good from the free throw line. So he's sort of a fairly standard guard kind of build. And if you're getting him, I mean, you're probably not going to be taking him. The earliest you'd go is if you're on the turn. So 11 or 12, you'd take him. And then, look, pair him with a James Harden or a Steph Curry or a Donovan Mitchell or a Tyrese Maxey. They all work really well together. Just keeping in mind that you will need to get some steals later. Am I doing daily game breakdowns like last year? Do you mean video breakdowns or on Twitter? Just let me know. I look 20 years young. I probably look younger because why would I look younger? Actually, I don't know. I thought it might have been because I can't because I don't. Well, I'm shaven now, so I always get told that I look younger when I don't have a beard or anything like that. So maybe it's that. I have hair. I probably didn't have hair. I mean, I've always had hair, but I just shaved my head from when I played basketball, so I've always done it. But now that I'm not playing anymore, maybe that's why. And it's also because I just had a haircut. You can't see the grey hair. Maybe that's why. Who are my picks in 11 to 16 first round 9? Who are my picks in 11 to 16 first? Look, there's a lot. Honestly, there are a lot of players you can target in that range, 11 to 16. Look, I mean, you get through sort of your top 8, which are really Jokic, Wemby, Shea, Luka, Giannis, Cade, Edwards, and probably Anthony Davis. They're your top 8. And then it's probably sort of Trey Young, James Harden's going in that range. But look, beyond that, I think there's probably, you could make a case for 10 to 15 players to go in that. If you're in a 16-team league, sort of anywhere from pick 10 or 11. Booker, Harden, Sabonis, Curry, Durant, Mobley potentially, Donovan Mitchell potentially, Tyrese Maxey. Like I said, I've taken Amen Thompson, Jalen Johnson. I think you could have in the discussion. If you're punting enough categories, you can go Paolo. So there's a lot. Yeah, it really just comes down to what you're looking for. Alex, back to the 19th, 22nd overall question. Forgot to mention Amen, but assume I would take him in the second round. I would, yes. How crazy do you think it is to take Wemby over Jokic? I don't think it's crazy at all. Jokic is safer, I'll say that, I think, but Wemby has more upside. I mean, can you imagine if Wemby comes out and plays 70 games this year and averages, I don't know, 26 points a game? He's probably going to be at sort of 12 rebounds. So 26 and 12 with 4 assists, 1.3 steals, 3.5 blocks. Almost 50% from the field and 80, what is he from the free throw line now? 81, 82 with 3 threes. That beats Jokic. I don't think it's crazy at all. Picked an NFL team yet? And who am I riding in the MLB? I've been watching a bit of the MLB. Look, I guess maybe the Dodgers, because I've been to a Dodgers game. They're the only team I've actually seen live. So maybe the Dodgers. NFL team. The Bengals were my team when I was younger, just because they were Tigers, Bengal Tigers, and I go for the West Tigers. So I liked them. Again, I don't really have a team. I mean, my mate that comes with me to the States, he goes for the Patriots. So maybe it's the Patriots. I feel like they weren't very good last year. Yeah. So anyway, they're probably not a strength of mine. What would I punt in a Cade build? Look, I mean, he's a guard, isn't he? So obviously, just punting your blocks and field goal percentage and things like that. He's actually not a bad rebounder for a guard, though, so you wouldn't necessarily have to punt rebounds. So maybe you would just punt blocks, turnovers, potentially. He's actually quite balanced. He's not as bad as some of those other guards. Steals, maybe he's sort of 1 per game, but I do think he has a little bit more upside on that end if we're comparing him to someone like a Trae Young, who I talked about, or a Devin Booker. I think I would take Cade there. If the over-under is 1.1, Cade would be the one I would pick or risk it as going over that. Alex, so live daily video breakdowns. I don't know yet. There's pros and cons to both. The live, the tweets are the tweets actually are more work. It's a lot easier to sit here and talk about stuff than it is to write stuff. And I'm writing articles and I'm writing for work during the day. So I actually just don't mind sitting here and talking about the games. It's a little bit. So I may do semi-daily, so every 2 days, and try to limit it. Like try to sort of get through each game in 3-4 minutes maybe, and just focus on the real talking points. So maybe it'll be a mixture. Maybe it'll be 4 videos and 3 tweets. It would, because I'll also be doing recorded shows, so like a weekly summary kind of show or something, and there'll be some weekly shows. I haven't really figured it all out yet. I'm just trying to line it up with Dan's show, and obviously Matty G is doing his show, and we don't want to overlap too much. So weekends, almost definitely I'll be doing videos, because Dan doesn't tend to do a lot on the weekends. And obviously rightfully so. His job is fantasy basketball. So on the weekends he wants some time off. I have a full-time job, so this is not my full-time job. So the weekends is when I can do some content when he's not. So yeah, we will see. How is the knee recovery going? It's fine. I did a little bit of running up at basketball training. It's slow. The ACL is pretty good, I think. Strength is good. I'm able to do some box jumps and things like that now. The bigger issue, which I haven't had to deal with before, is the fact that I don't have a meniscus anymore. So the impact is what's causing me some issues. But that'll be okay. We'll get there. How concerned am I that Orlando cannibalizes itself for fantasy purposes? I think there's a little bit of a concern. I mean, you throw in Desmond Bain. He's a huge upgrade on Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Suggs, if he's healthy. I think Paolo still is obviously the top of the tree there, quite clearly. Franz and Bain are probably equal, and then Suggs takes a hit. So yeah, I do think there's a little bit of a concern there, but I still think Paolo will be the guy. VJ has looked great as a defensive guard. Do I think he can average double-digit points? Yeah, look, I think so. I mean, he plays on a team that half their team is injured all the time. So, yeah, I think Edgecombe can probably average sort of at least 10 points, if not 12. And then defensively is where he'll get his value on the steals there, and he'll get you some threes. So he's someone I'd certainly consider drafting with a last round pick as well. And Matt Carmody, go the Brewers. Yeah, look, the Brewers won. I think they were up 9-2 when I was watching this morning. I like the name, the Brewers. There seems to be a lot of beer on their signage and stuff, so that's a good thing. So, yeah, maybe I can go for the Brewers. Sure, I'll go for the Brewers and the Dodgers. I'll go for the Dodgers. All right, that's all the questions we got there. And thank you. I didn't know if we'd get any, and we got, I can't even count them, maybe 30, 35. So thank you, everyone, for the questions. I'll probably just do sort of some random mailbag shows around this time on days when I can. Like obviously during the week at this time I'm at work, but I might be able to find some time, and I'll be doing these as we lead into the season, and then I'll probably do one a week during the season at a set time. So it might be this sort of a time every Saturday afternoon, night in the US. Before the games typically start, I think is a better time. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. I'll be posting a bit of a schedule on Twitter at some point. So yeah, keep following along. Got a show tomorrow, so I'm doing a sort of a sleeper, not sleepers, but favorite mid-round picks. So picking sort of 50 to 100. I'll have Josh Lloyd on the show, and we'll be going through his top 6, and I'll probably have a top 6 as well. So shouldn't be too long, but that should be a good show. And maybe I'll be co-hosting Menace Podman. I'm not sure, but yeah, content will be coming. Follow along on Twitter at AdamKing91, at Old Man Squad Fantasy. Go and find the YouTube channel. Subscribe numbers are going up slowly. I know Dan wants to hit 9,000, 10,000 if possible, but working towards 9 at the moment. So that'd be really good if you can go and subscribe. And then, like I said, even if you're watching along with the videos, go and download the audio versions on Spotify and Apple, because it does all help. That will do. Thank you, everyone. I'm Adam King. This has been Stuff It, a fantasy basketball podcast. We are done.